Oh, Congress. Congress. What are you doing to us? Hi, I'm Teri, and you're watching the Modest Economist channel. Well, if you've been following the news at all, the financial news, you know that there are budget talks going on, and it's up to Congress to agree to raise the debt ceiling. So what does that mean in terms that make any sense for any of us? I think it's similar to maxing out your credit cards. You have no credit left and you're trying to get an extension. So you're going to the banks and asking for an extension. And in order to do that, you have to prove to them that you have the ability to pay off this debt. It's kind of the same thing, but it has different implications. There is a difference between raising the debt ceiling and a government shutdown. I mean, one could actually cause the other. But the government issues bonds, treasury bonds, notes, bills, and when we buy them, or anyone buys them, we expect that we are going to be paid the interest that they have promised to pay us. So what happens when you own a treasury bond, I own treasury bonds, and all of a sudden the government says, well, we don't have enough money to pay you the interest that you're due because we can't lift the debt ceiling. That's not good. That's really not good, because technically then the government is in default for not paying. It'd be the same thing as if you didn't pay your mortgage for a few months, or if you didn't pay your credit card bill, you could be in default. So on a government scale though, that creates a lot of problems for a lot of people, and nobody really knows in this particular situation what could happen. Secretary Yellen has made it pretty clear that the government's going to run out of money by June 1st. So here are some of the possible consequences. One is that they miss interest payments, and treasury bonds, which are implicitly rated AAA, are downgraded to AA or AA plus. As soon as that happens, it means that anybody who owns treasuries is going to see the value of their bond decline. Because when a bond is downgraded, and really from AAA there's only one way you can go, it means that you now have more risk. The bond isn't worth as much as it was before. And when a bond is downgraded, that means the interest rate is going to go up because the value has gone down. And that's something we don't really want to see happen. I mean, we certainly don't want our government credit to be downgraded. That would be just a host of problems, not just for us, but globally, because the treasury market is the largest market in the world. It's the most liquid market in the world. Basically, every government, every pension fund, savers would all be impacted immediately and would all see a decline in the value of their treasuries. It also puts into question whether or not, the treasury is actually solvent. So investors get nervous and maybe they start selling more bonds, and just the act of selling more bonds is also going to raise interest rates. None of that is really good. Another consequence is that the government has to figure out a way to come up with the money to pay those interest rates, which I think is more likely, basically to pay down debt. And one of the ways to do that is to stop spending. It's the same way that we would do it. If you owe a lot and you have no leeway, you find a way to stop spending someplace else to pay off your debt. And when that happens, it could lead to a government shutdown. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest and say if you look back at recent history, government shutdowns have occurred with every administration. So it is sort of like Congress, regardless of the current administration, holding the deficit, the budget debt as hostage. But what's horrible about a government shutdown, and the most recent one was 2018, 2019, is that people stop getting paid. and in particular federal workers stopped getting paid. So I remember when this happened, and it lasted for 35 days, where if you were any type of federal employee, you basically got an IOU until the debt ceiling was raised. Well, that includes anyone in the military. So you think about that for a minute, is that people in the military who are not making a ton of money, a lot of them, all of a sudden don't get paid. Any other type of federal worker doesn't get paid. I mean, the implications of it are pretty devastating for a lot of people and families. So avoiding a government shutdown should be a priority. Now, most of the time when we get to this impasse, the debt ceiling is raised. And if I have to put money on it, I would say that it could be, midnight before June 1st, where they come to an agreement. A lot of times this does go down to the wire. But I do hope that both sides of the aisle in Congress understand the bond market and what happens and the implications of what could happen if they don't reach an agreement. And so that's what really worries me, is that the implications are far-reaching across not just our economy, but global economies who have invested heavily in our bond market and our treasury market. So stay tuned. I guess we'll know in a couple of weeks. As I said, I think they'll probably take this down to the wire, but I'm going to stay positive and hope that we don't have a government shutdown. I think that in the current environment would truly be devastating for a lot of people and families, and that they can come to an agreement. So thanks for joining me today. I'll see you next time.